Arsène Lupin, Gentleman Burglar, Episode 5, The Vanishing Act. Welcome back, Detective. After witnessing Lupin navigate international conspiracies and cursed diamonds, you might think we've seen the limits of his audacity. But today's case will demonstrate something that defies not just security systems, but the very laws of physics themselves. What happens when Arsène Lupin decides to steal something from a room full of witnesses in broad daylight? Can you solve a mystery where the impossible becomes reality? Picture this. June 1906, the luxurious Crédit Universal Bank in central Paris. The bank's director, Monsieur Duchess, has just installed what he proudly calls the most impenetrable vault in Europe. A massive steel safe built into the wall of his private office, with a time lock mechanism that only opens during business hours and requires 2 separate keys held by different managers. Inside this magnificent safe sits the bank's pride, a collection of bearer bonds worth 3 million francs, along with the personal jewels of several aristocratic clients who trust the bank's security more than their own chateau. Monsieur Duchess hosts a demonstration for potential wealthy clients, and I'm invited as an independent security consultant. Gentlemen, Duchess announces proudly, observe the marvel of modern engineering. The vault door is 12 inches of hardened steel. The lock mechanism is German precision craftsmanship. Even if someone obtained both keys, the time lock prevents opening outside designated hours. And my office is on the 3rd floor, with windows overlooking a busy street. No one could enter or exit unnoticed. But here's what catches my attention. Among the potential clients attending this demonstration is a distinguished gentleman introducing himself as the Vicomte d'Autrec, recently returned from diplomatic service in Constantinople. He asks intelligent questions about the security features, takes notes like a serious investor, and something about his eyes reminds me of someone. Have you guessed who he might be, Detective? The demonstration proceeds smoothly. Duchess opens the safe using both keys and the time lock sequence, revealing stacks of bonds and velvet cases containing glittering jewels. As you can see, he gestures expansively. Your valuables would be absolutely secure. I personally guarantee that nothing could be removed from this safe without my knowledge and consent. The Vicomte d'Autrec smiles politely. Monsieur Duchess, that's quite a bold guarantee. What if I told you I could remove something from that safe right now, in front of all these witnesses, and you wouldn't even realize it until tomorrow morning? The room erupts in nervous laughter. Surely this is just aristocratic wit. But Duchess takes offense. Impossible, monsieur. The safe is open, yes, but we're all watching it. I'd see anyone approach. We'd all see anyone take anything. The Vicomte nods agreeably. Of course you would. That's what makes it interesting. Shall we make a small wager? If I can remove something from your safe before you close it today, without anyone seeing me do it, you donate 1,000 francs to the orphanage of Saint-Antoine. If I fail, I'll invest 50,000 francs in your bank. Think about this challenge, my apprentice. Why would someone make such an absurd bet? The safe is open, yes, but we're all staring at it. 12 people in a well-lit office, all watching the same spot. How could anyone take anything without being seen? Duchess, sensing an easy 1,000 francs for charity and a wealthy new client, agrees enthusiastically. Agreed, Monsieur le Vicomte. Let us all watch carefully. I'll even leave the safe open for the next hour during our meeting, so you have ample opportunity to attempt your impossible trick. The witnesses chuckle. This aristocrat is clearly eccentric but harmless. For the next hour, we discuss banking procedures, investment opportunities, and security protocols. The safe remains open across the room, clearly visible to everyone. The Vicomte participates actively in conversation but never approaches the safe. He doesn't even glance at it suspiciously. He sits in his chair near the window, occasionally standing to look at documents Duchess shows him, but always remaining at least 10 feet from the vault. Finally, the meeting concludes. Duchess walks to the safe, preparing to close it. "Well, Monsieur le Vicomte, I believe I've won our wager. As you can see, everything remains exactly as it was. No magic tricks today." He begins, swinging the massive steel door closed. "One moment," the Vicomte says pleasantly. "Before you seal it, perhaps you should verify that everything is actually there." Duchess laughs confidently but decides to humor his guest. He reaches into the safe to count the bond certificates and his face goes absolutely white. His hands shake as he frantically searches through the velvet cases, pulls out drawers, checks every corner of the vault. "It's gone," he whispers in disbelief. "The Duchess de Chambord's diamond bracelet. It was right here in this case. It's completely vanished. Now here's where the mystery becomes truly baffling. The bracelet was definitely in the safe at the demonstration's start. Duchess showed it specifically to several clients. The safe has been open and visible to 12 witnesses for an entire hour. None of us left the room. The Vicomte never approached within 10 feet of the vault. The windows are closed. The door was locked from inside during the meeting. So how did a diamond bracelet simply disappear from a watched safe in a locked room full of witnesses? "Search everyone," Duchess demands, his professional composure cracking. The thief must still have it. The police are called. Inspector Ganimard arrives. Of course it's Ganimard, nursing his growing obsession with catching Lupin, and methodically searches every person in the room, including the Vicomte d'Autrec. Nothing. The bracelet isn't on anyone's person, isn't hidden in the room, isn't in any pocket or bag or piece of furniture. The Vicomte remains perfectly calm throughout the search. "Inspector, I believe I won my wager fairly. Monsieur Duchess should donate the promised 1,000 francs to the orphanage. As for my investment, I'm afraid this unfortunate incident has made me reconsider using your bank's services." He prepares to leave. "Not so fast," Ganimard growls. "Your whole manner screams Arsène Lupin to me. I'm detaining you for questioning." But the Vicomte produces impeccable identification papers, letters of introduction from the French embassy in Constantinople, even a recent photograph with the ambassador. Everything checks out perfectly. He really is the Vicomte d'Autrec, recently returned from diplomatic service. Think carefully, detective. We've seen Lupin use disguises before, but could he steal someone's entire identity so completely? Or is the Vicomte actually innocent, and something else entirely happened to that bracelet? Ganimard has no legal grounds to hold him, so the Vicomte departs with aristocratic dignity, leaving behind a room full of baffled witnesses and an increasingly hysterical bank director. For 3 days, the police investigate. They interview everyone present, reconstruct the timeline minute by minute, bring in locksmiths and security experts to examine the safe. No one can explain how the bracelet disappeared. Then, on the 4th day, the Duchess de Chambord receives her bracelet in the mail along with a note. "Dear Duchess, I borrowed your lovely bracelet to demonstrate a point about bank security. As you can see, even the most sophisticated vaults are vulnerable to creative thinking. I took the liberty of having it professionally cleaned before returning it. Consider switching to a better bank. Respectfully, Arsène Lupin." The revelation explodes across Paris newspapers. The Vicomte d'Autrec was Lupin in disguise. But how did he do it? Inspector Ganimard returns to the bank, determined to solve the method, if not capture the thief. He examines every inch of that office, and finally, purely by accident, he discovers the truth. The solution is so elegant it's almost beautiful. Remember how the Vicomte sat near the window during the meeting? That window overlooks a busy street 3 floors below. What Ganimard discovers is a nearly invisible thread fishing line, actually running from the window down to the street below, where Lupin's accomplice had been waiting with a trained pigeon. Here's how it worked. Before the meeting, Lupin prepared the fishing line with a tiny hook on the end, concealed it in his sleeve. During the initial demonstration, when everyone crowded around the open safe, he used a magician's misdirection. He pointed at something across the room, and in that split second, when everyone's heads turned, he hooked the bracelet and slid it into his pocket. But he knew he'd be searched eventually, so during the meeting, while sitting casually by the window, he attached the bracelet to the fishing line and lowered it out the slightly opened window to his accomplice below. The accomplice attached it to a trained pigeon that flew away with the evidence. When the search happened, the bracelet was already gone. Not in the room, not on anyone's person, literally flying through the air above Paris. Brilliant, Ganimard admits, through gritted teeth. Lupin wasn't lying when he said he'd remove something from the safe in front of witnesses. He did exactly that. We just didn't see him do it because we were all watching the safe instead of watching him. And his escape route wasn't through the door or window, it was through the air itself, carried by a bird. But there's another layer to this deception. The real Vicomte d'Autrec was indeed Lupin, but not in the way everyone assumed. Lupin didn't steal the Vicomte's identity, he created it. The diplomatic service in Constantinople, the letters of introduction, the photograph with the ambassador, all carefully constructed fictions planted in official records months earlier. When Ganimard investigates the Constantinople embassy, he discovers that while a Vicomte d'Autrec did serve there, no one actually remembers meeting him. He was always traveling, always on special assignment, always somehow absent from group photographs and social events. Lupin had created a ghost identity within the diplomatic corps, complete with paperwork and credentials, knowing he'd eventually use it for a spectacular heist. The Duchess, rather than being angry, is actually delighted. Any thief clever enough to steal my bracelet from a room full of witnesses and return it cleaned deserves my admiration. I'm dining out on this story for months. She even sends Lupin a thank you note, care of the newspapers. Dear Monsieur Lupin, thank you for the most exciting week of my otherwise tedious social calendar. The bracelet sparkles beautifully. Your devoted victim, the Duchess. So tell me, detective, at what point should we have realized the Vicomte was Lupin? What signs did we miss? Was it his too perfect credentials? His strategic seat by the window? His confidence in making an impossible wager? And most brilliantly, how do you guard against a thief who doesn't need to escape because he makes the evidence itself escape? This case reveals another dimension of Lupin's genius. He doesn't just plan the crime, he plans the investigation of the crime. By returning the bracelet, he ensured no one was truly harmed, and the Duchess became his unwitting publicity agent. By using a trained pigeon, he created a method so absurd that even when discovered, it sounds like fiction. He's not just stealing jewels, he's creating legends. Monsieur Detige closes his impenetrable vault permanently and retires from banking, unable to face the mockery. The Crédit Universel Bank spends a fortune on new security systems specifically designed to defeat Lupin's methods. And Ganimard adds another failure to his growing collection of humiliations, each one making him more determined to eventually catch his nemesis. Join me next time for The Art of Escape, where Lupin faces his greatest challenge yet, a prison specifically designed by Inspector Ganimard to be escape-proof, with guards who've studied every one of his previous escapes. When the hunter becomes the architect of the trap, Can even Arsène Lupin find a way out?